for October 13, 2025. We'll have a roll call.
Robert Becker,
Present.
Richard Anderson,
Richie, you here?
Renee Lyon,
Present.
Dick Miller, Richard Seisha.
All present and accounted for. Open meeting law requirements met?
Yep.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, we've got a 15-item agenda. I need a motion to approve. Motion by Doc. Second by Dick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay, item 5. Everybody got the minutes from the previous meeting? If I need a motion to approve or any additions or corrections. Motion by Dick to approve the minutes. Second by Doc. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay, number 6 is a public comment period of 15 minutes. Members of the public may have a 15-minute block of time to comment on today's agenda item. Members may be present in person or call in to make such comments. To comment by telephone, please call 715-538-1894. Public comment may be extended or curtailed at the discretion of the committee board chair and after advisement by the committee board. Okay. Now, number 7, discussion on possible action on county-owned land. Susan, you have anything for that?
Good morning. I had sent out early last week a draft property purchase policy. That document divides the property purchases, and I should state that these are for public purchase of county land into really 2 different types. One is the non-tax acquired property. Somehow we've purchased this. For example, we might have had a highway project years ago and acquired property, and along the way, the road has changed to the point that we no longer use it or hadn't used it. The second type of, or the second part of this policy is regarding the tax deeded property, which is wholly under our ordinance and statute already, so that's why it's so short. Going and really focusing on these non-tax acquired property, I put down a draft procedure as well as policy with that. And essentially, it's kicked off by somebody submitting a proposal to the county. The proposal, if you look at the first page, must include that information regarding contact information, proposed dollar value, prospective use of the property, prior ownership. Some of these, for example, if you're not an adjacent landowner, it'd just be, they've been considered, it's not. They're not, but it needs to be looked through and reviewed, including zoning considerations, access, and so forth. Once that proposal comes in, it would go to the county clerk. The county clerk would then submit that to the committee chair. I had a question whether you wanted to attach a fee to it. You could. It's entirely up to you, but that's why that's there. And then it would come to this committee for consideration. It would be placed on the next agenda where it could be timely put on. And through that, the committee would consider various things. Again, kind of the same things that it's supposed to address in the initial proposal. Access to land, dollar value, whether there's any potential use by the county, any previous or adjacent ownership, the history of the parcel, whether the use would be consistent with our zoning code, which would be a very important thing to make sure that we are reviewing before we sell any of their lands. Any sort of non-compliance with, that we're aware of with our current ordinance or other law. Whether additional survey work is necessary and who shall pay it. And any other criteria that either the Departments of Land Management or Land Records determine are appropriate. When that comes through, this committee can do one of 3 things. Either reject it, you return it to the individual for more information, or you can transfer it to staff for additional review and consideration. And as it's noted there, the last 2 can happen at the same time. If, however, it doesn't meet the the minimum of being consistent with our assessed value, our tax assessed value, it's going to be rejected right off or out of the gates. At any point, though, the committee can ask for more information, and the board can also ask for more information. It did allow for a process to send this to various staff to be consulted, so that they can weigh in and provide input to the committee before any sort of proposal is approved. Additionally, in here, other people or other entities may submit a proposal as well. If there's a proposal that is reviewed and it's approved, it's going to have to go to the full county board, as it is this proposed policy. So just so you're aware of it, you guys are in just the initial vetting mechanism for the county. I think some of the last parts of this are similar with both types of property. All properties are sold as is. All deeds are through or via quitclaim deed. The purchaser is going to be responsible for any sort of taxes, special assessments, liens, things like that. Although, again, it depends on the type of property a little bit there. Maps, parcels provided by the county during this process are not to be held as a guarantee of any sort. They're to illustrate various things that might come up. All meetings are going to be done in open session. Nothing that this committee would consider is going to, at this point, would result in a binding offer. The full payment is only due after it's approved of by the county board, and it would be the first Monday after the county board, so there's a week there. And as I said, some of those are the same for the tax deeded property as well. So it's the draft policy. It still is, you know, but I wanted to get this to you so you can start thinking about it and weighing in.
I guess I have you left that blank, that if there's a fee involved, and I guess I'm thinking that maybe a nominal fee might be appropriate. Now, this pertains to the land that is advertised for sale or land that someone would like to see available, right?
Someone that is land that they would like to see for sale. I know there's been a property that Supervisor Becker's been approached with multiple times. I think it was originally acquired for highway.
Yeah, it was,
And so not tax
it was the
deeded.
highway property, and then they moved the whole road over, and they just kept it.
And so this provides a mechanism to bring those types of proposals
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Tax deeded are entirely kept separate, and anytime we have a tax deeded property, we need to follow the other process.
You know, this, if someone comes in and requests a piece of ground, and we're not advertising it, and this is going to involve a lot of involvement by this committee and various people in the county, I think there needs to be a nominal fee so people understand that they have are making a quasi commitment, if nothing else.
And so what would you like that fee to be? $100, $150?
I guess I would lean towards $100. But the committee may have some other thoughts on that.
I don't have a strong opinion. Either way, but I agree that there has to be something in the form of a commitment.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I guess there's going to be an awful lot of involvement in some pieces of ground particularly, it may be, and I think it,
Well, if there's a lot of involvement, then maybe we should go with something more, 150? I don't know.
I don't know, should we have something that goes with the size of the property they're trying to acquire it to? You know, because the more property, is it more work? Or should we just set a standard fee? What would you think,
I think a
Suzanne?
standard fee would be better. I
Okay.
have some concerns about the administration, if it's on the size of the property, and how that would be calculated. And I just think that would be hard to play out on a day-to-day basis, even though that might be more work in the long run. Some of these might not be, so the hope is that this will wash out eventually.
I think the $100 seems fair, just at least we,
Yeah,
show that
okay.
we need something.
Doc said $100 is what would be a good number to put in there. You have something to say, Rich?
Just wondering, is this a non-returnable fee then, whether they make the purchase or not?
That would be largely up to the committee and then the board, but I think it would make sense for it to be non-refundable. And if we are putting a fee in here, we'll need to look at our ordinance a little bit more as well, which is not a hard thing to do, but I just want to put that on your radar that
Yeah.
it would require a tweak there.
I think that's a good idea, because this way, if we gotta go through the work of trying to figure out all this, and all of a sudden he goes, no, or the person goes, no, I don't want it, good idea to say, at least we got some money for all of our effort, you know? That's a good question.
And it's such a nominal fee that it'd be different if it were, say 10 times that, but it's very nominal today.
Do you guys want to do anything with this today, or do you want to just look at it a little bit more? And if you,
I could put 100, I could put 125, I heard 100, 150. Okay.
I would,
gonna chase anybody away, but we would either way.
I guess I would move to approve as printed or as supplied us from Susan with that one change, and that include a $100 fee.
I would second that.
motion by Dick to put the fee on the purchase of county-owned land, not the purchase, but the acquirement of county-owned land at $100, seconded by
At 100,
Renee.
yep.
Anybody, any other discussion?
And would you like me to bring this back next month so that you can look at a final version
I
and
would
then
think,
approve of
yeah.
it if it's consistent with what you want?
I think, yeah, it would give everybody a little more time to look at it and bring some questions here if there is something. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. Any other questions for Susan on this? I appreciate all the work you put into this, Susan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else for her? If not, we'll move on to the Samuel Group. Ebenezer is the representative here, so.
Make a note to bring you donuts.
How did you get on this bad side?
I didn't bring him donuts.
He was standing right in front of me.
Morning, everyone. So the project is going well. To kind of summarize where we're at, the second floor is largely completed and occupied. They are working on, which I would call the administrative end, and they're still targeting to have that done the end of this month, first part of next month. They have moved, are going to be moving down to first floor today to start setting up some containment and start some demolition down there. Jeremy has worked very well with our team to move people around, and we're adjusting some of the phases to try to minimize disruption. But they're going to be working on abatement and demo on that first floor. The basement area has kind of been put on hold. We ran into a VAV box that didn't fit, so we're having to do some rework of some ductwork down there. But we're working on the pricing for that and those changes, but we're still on track to have the entire project done by April of next year. So the upper floor, the second floor, they're still waiting on. We've got some card readers that have to be installed. Some of the terrazzo work still needs to be done, and we're waiting on some door hardware, but it's largely occupied. Have been working with the building inspector to get occupancy. I guess the biggest issues we've been running into is that fire rating on that corridor walls that we showed you guys before. That's been sliced up pretty good. And then obviously when we get into abatement on that first floor, what that looks like in regards to the mechanical and electrical support for getting the abatement done. But other than that, things are going well. So
How's on the first floor, if you had any more of that asbestos issues or anything?
We will, yeah. We're going
You
to
haven't
be.
got to it yet?
No, we're going to be running into that. So we do have, just a reminder, we had a number from MAWA. What we're going to run into is how much electrical has to be relocated and how much mechanical has to be relocated. Once we open that up, we'll have a better look, a better feel for what that is. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, the second floor looks, the offices look pretty good. They need
you
a
guys have
couple,
any questions
couple
from the
things.
walkthrough last
I know
month?
Mary's got a couple questions. She wanted to say couple shelves she wants put in there and.
Yeah, if it's something that you want Tad to help with, we can have the crews work with you too. So, yeah.
I thought
All
the
right.
locker was very nice.
Good.
It's everything, I think, it's bright, pleasant.
Good.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else for Ebenezer before he goes?
Tim, are you upstairs now?
Yes.
You've moved up, and the Register of Deeds probably hasn't, or has that person?
Yeah, no.
They have not moved up yet.
Register of Deeds is scheduled to move, but they're a lower priority because they're not in anyone's way, and no one is displacing them, so we're working on everything else first, and then we'll focus on them when we have free time.
Free
When we
time.
get to that point.
Yeah, I see Jeremy. He's always pushing something up and down the hallways, trying to move people, so. Yeah. All right, does anybody else have anything else? Okay, thank you, Kurt. We'll move on to number 9. Mr. Robertson, IT.
Morning, everybody. Nothing much different to report from last month as far as IT updates. We're still in the midst of some major system implementations and then all the moving around. My staff has been helping with Jeremy's people when it's time to move people around. But so far, so good. Nobody's gone insane yet, and everybody's getting their time off in, so we're fine. Is it okay if we just jump right to policies unless there's a particular IT question somebody had? All right. Well, right now, no, we were in there before. We got moved up pretty early in the process. And everything was just great. And then we had to move out, and it's like picking up your chickens and moving them across the road, and then when you bring them back, the roost isn't quite the same. So there's a lot of stuff strewn about, and all the things are scattered. We've got things over in the jail, things here and there, and we got to put stuff back on the walls, and so we're not quite there yet, but there is much contentment with the space. Yeah, they're happy.
Yeah, you have a lot more space.
Right.
That's nice when you walk in there too. They all got a little bit of the privacy too, which is kind of nice to have.
Yeah, they were in pretty snug.
Yes.
And it's nice being right next to them instead of having to walk down the hall to go find my people. So, all right, if there's no other questions, which policy's first on the agenda? AI?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to read the whole policy front to back. Everybody have any questions? No. The purpose of this policy is because AI is growing. It's literally got its tentacles into everything, and we had to get something in writing in front of you. We've been planning, Susan and I have been discussing this for a long time. I've looked at templates. I had my first attempt at an AI policy I created for last year, I believe, and I used AI to do it, and she was not impressed. So we are, we borrowed this template from another county in Wisconsin. We modified it to our needs and added a few things here and there. It is very thin on mechanisms for how we're going to deal with violations from, with the different applications that have AI. We added an appendix that is going to likely have to be modified constantly as we discover new applications that have AI integrated into them and when trying to figure out a way. Management has provided direction. The administrator's office has made it clear that AI is a part of this operation. We're going to have to embrace it to stay productive. We are looking at options for AI that involve a local AI, where we're going to build out our own local AI tools that won't leave the boundaries of the organization, so that we will have that in place. And we can feel safer in knowing that it's not floating out into the cloud. Hopefully, this policy will be able to get in front of employees and make them think twice. Because right now, anytime you do a search on a browser, it's almost automatic that AI is involved in the process. So we need people to be thinking about what they're plugging into the tools they use every day.
That's a good thing.
So I expect that if you were to adopt this policy today, we will modify it to state that fact, and it's likely that we will need to bring this to other committees at some point. And
It would be a good idea, and also for the other one, I have a couple other pieces to talk to you about with regarding the other policy. But I think both of them, so they have effect. So, sorry, Supervisor Anderson, this is Susan. I just said both policies should go to other committees eventually, and likely the board, so that they can have the full effect that's intended.
does anyone have any questions on this policy?
I don't. I respect the fact that you know more about this than I do, so I would defer to your comments more than anything.
Well, this one is breaking new ground, really, and I'm going to need a lot of help from Susan to make sure that we, once implemented, that we can quickly adjust it as needed, as we discover changing environment, and then what we missed, because this wasn't as organically created as other policies have been in the past.
It's kind of standard procedure to make it. It'll be in flux for a while until we get everything down to where exactly you think we need it.
It will be, and just the nature of AI in and of itself, it's growing perpetually. So it's a huge task, but I appreciate that we have this. It seems like every time we have any sort of training, AI is the hot topic, and it's great to have this policy in the works already versus working towards having a policy.
So I think you'll have to help me, Tim and Susan. It's probably best if we would okay it so you can move forward to other committees.
That's what I'm fishing for, yes.
I'm for that, even though I don't know a whole lot, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, we're all kind of,
I second that motion, that it be approved.
okay, motion by Doc, second by Renee to approve the AI policy for, hang on, let's see what the title of this. This Trumbull County Artificial Intelligence and Technology Policy. Any other discussion? Any other questions?
I'd like to say one thing, Artie.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to thank Tim for putting this together, because when we were at the WCA conference, that was a big talk about this IA and how things are gonna change and it's gonna get worse within the next 2 years. So kudos to Tim for putting this together, and to Susan. It's well appreciated.
Thanks,
well,
Rich.
I
This is
agree.
mainly
I agree.
Susan. She found it.
Thank you, Susan.
Being kind.
All right, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. All right, what's the next one, Tim?
Trempealeau County IT security policy. We have folders full of HIPAA policies that were commissioned back in 2016, before I arrived. I have folders full of different policies. Last month, I delivered the disaster recovery and technology policy for what we do and when there's a crisis and whatnot. We have disposal policies. We've got so many different policies. They're spread all over the place. One of the collection of policies we've kept on hand is kind of an ad hoc collection of policies that are required to get us through the CIB audits. CIB is Crime Information Bureau. They provide the access for the sheriff's office to, and all the police agencies in the county, to the NCIC data and all the different things that we need access to in law enforcement. But by not extending that policy out to all things, we felt like we weren't really meeting the security needs of the organization. And by having it be an ad hoc policy just to pass an audit, we weren't living the document. So we went out and consulted. After our most recent CIB audit, we worked with dispatch, Dustin down there, Renee and I, and we passed the audit. Many of the things we had to add to policy, we had to promise to do it by the end of the third quarter this year. So we missed that deadline, but just so barely, because we're here in October. So, and then the next step, of course, is implementing the policy. So that's the reason why we felt we had to move forward. Second of all, CIB went to new NIST guidelines because the feds, the Crime Justice Information Service, is demanding these latest NIST requirements, and it's much more elaborate and extensive. So we went to CIB looking for help and found that we were given a template to go off of. And this collection of documents, I feel it contains some redundancies. There's things that are overlapped in different policies, but it literally covers everything that we incorporate, and not just for law enforcement, but for every part of the organization, whether it's confidentiality, how we provide access to systems, how we log events, whether it's a law enforcement system or a regular system, we should be doing the same regardless. So we wanted to put this policy together to be applying to everything. So it's a big swing, and it contains a lot of material, and I'm going to be upfront. We as a staff set the parameters. There's variables inside this where you can set things, 3 days instead of 3 hours or what have you. There's different benchmarks and material. We still have to go through and make sure we're meeting best practices on that. We often have disagreements with NIST policies, and one of the biggest ones is password requirements. Most NIST guidelines and audits we can get conducted on say you have to change your password every 60 to 90 days is usually the framework. And we've found that is not a good way to run your operation, that people who have to change their password every 60 days get sloppy. They come up with schemes to make it easier. There's a pattern, and once criminals figure out a pattern, then you're done. Also, people tend to have to write them down when they're changed every 60 days instead of, if you have a 15-character password phrase that you use for your account here at the county, we want that to be right in your brain and nowhere else. And we don't want you using it for any other applications. So we don't want you to change your password every 60 days. So we tend to do a little, we just feel it's not an appropriate policy.
It's a little positive and a negative to it, It's
Right.
good one way, but it's
Some
almost
systems
more
will
negative.
require it. We can't control that. Our new finance system has a minimum requirement. You have to change your password X number of days. But we've found that in practice, some policies are detrimental to the operation, not just in productivity, but security-wise. So we, as a staff, need to go through and make sure that everything that we've put into this proposal is actually meeting the correct requirements. This policy was put together with the minimum requirements as stated by CIB and others. But we want to make sure we're, not only that we've reviewed each element, but that we know each element so that during the next step first we're going to be reviewing to make sure that best practices are being followed. Then we're going to have to review to verify policy meets current CJIS audit requirements, HIPAA requirements, and all that. We think we've done that mostly already, but we want to double check. And then in 2026, we got to verify these policies actually are incorporated into other parts of the policies that have been created here as an organization, be they the employee handbook or the HIPAA guidelines or any of the other policies. We have to make sure that we're making the policy elements here are integrated into those other spaces appropriately. So this is going to be another one of those ongoing processes over the next 18 months, I imagine. We're going to be having to learn and live this document and then put the elements into the other policies that match this.
It's quite a lengthy document, 80 pages.
It is, and you're going to have a hard time finding the difference between your access control policy and your personal security policy and there's different components they start to sound like the same thing. But we're meeting every requirement we can with this one. Some of the things in here, Like, for example, the contingency planning policy, we're still going to follow our other document that I gave to you last month. That's our primary thing. So we have to marry that policy to this one to make sure we're not stepping on any toes there. I think I've done that, but I want to double check that. The incident response policy, it's also part of the policy that I sent to you last month. So there are places where we still have other living documents that we're referring to. Our media protection policy has a disposal element. We also have a separate disposal policy, so we have to make sure that those two are tied together. So these are policies you previously, the disposal policy, you approved that a couple years ago. We intend to bring this back every fall and go through it and make sure that we've audited and looked at it. And if there's any changes that people think to me need to happen, we could get them in front of you and have you approve those changes. We are going to probably be modifying this document in those spaces where we have to find best practices and bringing it back to you again later. But we were hoping that we could get an approval to get the ball rolling much the same way we did on the AI policy. And then Susan, you said there were a couple items?
I have a couple, and I apologize because I didn't bring my notes. I had reviewed it last week. There were some things that I added, and hearing that you're going to marry some of the policies, that might help. I know I added in, for example, privacy officer. When you talked about security officer, if there's a breach, the privacy officer should be informed too. I think I might have lessened the time for staff to inform IT. I changed that language. I think I talked about bringing it to multiple committees as well because of the nature of what you had. I had several, but those are the ones that I can remember.
So what would you recommend? Would you recommend approval with me bringing back changes next month, or do you want to just wait and bring changes back next month?
You could bring approval. My thought is you still need to bring it to PB. You may want to consider, because of some of the consequences, bringing it beyond PB. And so with that, you could do either. Just know that eventually it's going to have to go to PB and so forth.
What if we worked on modifications, delivered what is existing that we did here today, as is, to PB, and then get a feel from both and then bring modifications to both at the same time? Or would you recommend, which comes first, approval or modifications?
I think if maybe it's cleanest just to come back next month with those.
I can do that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's no big rush on this, I wouldn't think, is there?
Well, we already missed the deadline for incorporating the policies that we promised CIB that we would incorporate. It was supposed to be the end of third quarter, but they haven't come to put me in jail yet, so I think we'll be okay for another month.
Well, it's pretty close, so you don't have to worry. It's brand new, too. No, well, I think just put it on the agenda for next month and we'll approve that one.
May I ask a question? Since I came on the board a couple of years ago, many years ago, we talked about policies, and the sheriff's department had policies and a few other policies, but we didn't have much. And we've grown. Who's the keeper of the policies, and where are those available if one would have a question?
That's a good question. I think largely it depends on the department.
Pardon?
Mostly it's going to depend on the department. So, the sheriff is going to be the keeper of those policies, IT of its policies, Health and Human Services of their policies. Our department may have, hopefully the policies have been sent and reviewed, but we might not have the final version. Usually the department would have the final approved version.
Yeah, the complexity is just awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good question.
That's the first thing we want to do with our new AI toy when we build it. We want to plug our policies into it and then start asking it questions to make sure, find all the policies that are in conflict with one another in this.
Oh, my.
So, the HIPAA stuff that was approved 9 years ago is a mountain of material.
And those are in the process, but we've been waiting because we now have a records person in Health and Human Services. So,
Yeah.
May I comment?
Sure.
I'm wondering if, are all the policies something that we could look at as county board people? I know that there are resolutions on the hub. Could policies be on the hub as well?
I think so. It would be a task between these two departments, I think largely.
When you said the these two departments, were you referring to yourself and someone else, or
I get sucked in most of the time.
or were you waving at Mary?
Well, as the keeper of, the clerk by statute is the keeper of the board documents, right? And if they're going to be approved, that would be reasonable, just like the keeper of the ordinance. And I think it's going to take some coordination with IT to get that fully electronic and available.
Well, we have the tools for policies that would, that would involve the public. We could put that out in our documents on demand. But for the staff itself, SharePoint, we do have space for that. We could absolutely be deploying policies to a central location that everybody would have access to, except those policies that involve
Security.
security. So your policies regarding jail procedures and your policies regarding IT functions on the security side probably wouldn't be published, but everything else that involves staff, management, procedures for doing things that isn't confidential, I think we should get that in a central repository.
And ordinances are on as well?
They are.
Ordinances.
Yeah. Is that something that I think we should bring to the management meeting to start talking about? And then managers can start to pull their policies too?
I don't see any problem with that.
Okay.
Susan, is it policy here that you get a new employee for that department to make them sign up the policy
It is, for an employee handbook?
for each department individually, or just as the whole structure under one umbrella, let's say?
I'm not sure what else there would be signed beyond the confidentiality agreement, the employee handbook. There might be some that are very specific. I don't know, Tim, I know you sat in that role, so you might have seen somewhere I have not.
Well, there are individuals hired here that have different requirements than what's in the basic policy handbook.
Yeah.
I imagine people at Highway that the position requires a CDL, or people that get hired into IT that have to have confidentiality requirements because of their access to everything. There probably should be some departmental specific policies that are signed when they're first hired.
That makes sense to me.
So.
But I don't know that there is.
Right. I guess is there a specific department that you were thinking about?
Well,
Or
I'm just thinking, sheriff's department has different law or rules they have to go by. So that one should be a little different than if maybe the courthouse hires somebody. I mean, each one's got their own little niches, and I didn't know if we had anything specific to each department, or if we just have a general carte blanche personnel policy that you sign it, and, you know what I mean? Because each one's, some of those departments are very specific in what you can and can't do.
typically what you would see is you'd see an overarching employee handbook, because there'd be some minimum standards that all employees should,
Right,
regardless
yeah.
of what position they are in. And then you would have offshoots, where here's your highway, here is your
Right.
sheriff's office, here is your healthcare center or whatnot, as, particular subchapters or subparts of that policy.
Right, that makes sense to me there, yeah.
I'm getting buzzed by my staff that they are already out there.
Okay. Oh, they are?
Yeah, we're being broadcast, so of course they're multitasking, they're watching the meeting.
They want to see what their boss is doing.
So, yeah, they're already out in SharePoint, under employee resources.
I think
Everybody
it-
say hi to Renee later and thank her for that tidbit.
And I think it would be a good idea to still for departments to do their own self-audit. With the turnover, I could see that there could be an issue down.
P&B might want to take that up. That probably wouldn't be this committee's.
I think that works.
Okay, we'll do it, put it on the agenda for next month and see where it all lands.
Could you put that on the agenda for me, honey?
Yes, I will. Is that okay with you?
You bet.
All right.
Thanks for your time,
Okay.
people.
Next up, we'll go number 12, Maintenance Department renovations, drop in schedule for update from Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy.
Good morning. All right, so we'll just start with the straight up maintenance department stuff that we've been going on for the past month. So this is in no particular order. I've been keeping notes all month, so apologize if I kind of jumping all over the place here. I'm waiting on a company to give me a price on some signage as we start to update this and finish this remodeled portion of the building. Especially starting today, since we've closed that first floor corridor. We're becoming a small labyrinth, especially for public versus just employees. So trying to get the new signage up with directional arrows, and something that matches in color scheme to the Justice Center versus the older courthouse portion. So I'm waiting on some prices for that, but I already have CIP funds for that for this year, and then there was a request in the budget to have some more for next year, because the signage is not cheap, so, but I should have enough to cover what I need for this year. The jail bunk projects, which you guys should be aware of, all of those bunks are in-house. They're here sitting in the Sally Port. We are just waiting to schedule some stuff with Joan. But from what I understand, we're sitting pretty precariously close to our 85% max housing in the jail, so we need to start getting some of these up here pretty soon. But I have all 19 bunks here. Joan was off for a bit, so we're just we'll be sitting this week. We'll be sitting this week to schedule those out, and we're gonna try to do 5 at a time because we have to then ship certain inmates to other locations in order to facilitate that. But we're hoping by the end of the year, we have at least 10 of these bunks in, so that they're increasing the max capacity of the jail. Our boiler number 1 pump, the seals blew 2 weeks ago on that thing, so I've had those replaced already. I ordered the seal packs and we've already replaced them. It's not a big deal, but it was one of the bigger projects that we had this month. Also, one of the mini split units in one of the IT rooms in the basement one of the mini splits did die, so that was expected, because I also had CIP funds this year to replace those, so that unit is in-house. It's actually, when you go to leave, you'll see a big box sitting right outside the main entrance, so I have to have that. I'll be installing that here pretty soon as well. When it came to that, just so we can touch bases on it, for this year I had $10,000 to replace mini splits. I only spent $7,600 of that one, so I'll have $2,400 left. Carrying on for that, the fire pump that was scheduled to be removed from the old building has been removed. I had $9,000 to have that removed. That ended up costing $9,900. So that one went a little over, but I'm $2,400 under on the other line item, so it'll still balance out just fine. Other concerns I have right now as you leave, it's something I see every day, is our landscaping is kind of taken to the back burner for the time being, as some of this other stuff has been priority, but I do have it on my schedule to do next week, a blitz with all of my guys to try to get it ready for winter, pruning some stuff back, pulling the weeds, making it look a little bit prettier. But right now it is kind of a chaotic mess in certain areas, but it hasn't been a priority at the moment, but we'll get that cut back before winter comes in. Still having some staffing concerns in my department. I did do interviews a month ago, but we still haven't, HR still hasn't finished getting all the paperwork out to what they need for my position. So I've been down a person for about 7 weeks, so that is not also helping with the amount of stuff that we have going on. Hopefully, talking to HR this morning, she's reaching out to who she needs to today to figure everything out to get that job offer finalized. I have a conference at the end of this month in Black River with all of my peers from about 40 of the counties. One of them in particular I'll be sitting with after, since I was tasked from admin to kind of look at taking over the Parks Department as well, falling under the purview of facilities. So there's a few other counties that it's facilities and parks in one, so I want to sit down and talk to a few other people just to kind of see what I am in for, because I've been trying to sit down with Jack as much as I can, who's the current manager of Parks right now, to try to get an idea. There's a lot that he's got going on, and a lot of it I'm not super familiar with. So it's, in the chaos of the remodel, it's a lot. I think once everything falls down, it won't be so bad, but right now that's just something that I'm also addressing to try to get familiar with.
When it comes back to the staffing issues, again, not just with the landscaping, but I am also not super happy with the way the cleanliness of the building is going, because again, that's kind of taking a back burner on some other things as we're starting to shift people around, disassemble furniture. Once we move someone out, then we're moving someone right back in. And then, a week after they've been in there, they're finding out what they need. Like Mary's department brought up, there was some countertops and some drawers and stuff that would have been nice for her department to have at the window, which was something that wasn't included, but stuff that we're looking at. But just also hanging pictures, rearranging desks, stuff like that is keeping us kind of busy. So we are doing the basic requirements, keeping the bathrooms clean, the garbage is empty, but just the detail stuff is, until we get that extra person back in. I'm still been coming in at nights and weekends trying to keep up with some other things, so we're doing what we can. So and to everyone's credit in the building, no one's really complaining or saying anything. It's just more things that I notice maybe more than somebody else does.
Yeah, I think, Jeremy, just my personal opinion, I don't know what the committee thinks. I don't think you have to worry about the trees and the shrubbery outside that's like second or third on the list. I would say just focus on the inside, because it's hard being down a guy with all this stuff going on. I see you moving stuff all the time. I mean, you got a lot going on inside. I think that should be a little more priority than our outside. I appreciate you wanting to keep it look good, but I personally just say I don't really think that's a high.
No, and I appreciate
Priority.
that. I agree. And like I said, that's why it's been pushed to the backside. I'm just bringing it to someone's attention,
Right,
to your
right.
attention now too, in case it comes up that it looks lacking. So I'm just making sure that everyone's aware. I'm aware. We're just working on it, so. I already talked on the AC stuff, so there, and then the last two things I'm working on, like I said, when I said the mini split down in the IT room died, I'm also halfway through my EPA certificate so that I can start buying and removing the Freon from these units to help save the county a little bit of money instead of just having WHV or somebody else do it. So I've got maybe about another 4 to 6 weeks, depending on finishing that class. And then I'm about 2/3 of my way through an OSHA 30 certificate, because I was also tasked with being the head of the safety committee for the county as well for the courthouse. So I want to get my certification and that done so that I can lead those meetings for all the departments as well. So that one I should be done with by the end of the year.
We certainly appreciate that, Jeremy, and thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's all good. Touching back on some of the stuff that Kurt brought up when it came to the remodel. So the north basement is 50% completed. So the hallways are done, and then the offices that are down there are completed, but the old boardroom, the mixing studio or the engineering studio, and the TV studio itself haven't been touched yet. Primarily, that's one, because I needed to keep storing things in certain places, and two, because the offices that used to house the TV staff, I'm also keeping in flux so that I have somewhere to flex people if I need that space. So if we emptied the boardroom, all that stuff would have to go into those offices, and I don't want to do that quite yet. So speaking with Tad, the basement wasn't a huge priority, but it keeps us with something to fall back on if we came down to it, or it'll be the last part of the project that we need to get done. Second floor is largely occupied with the exception of admin on the south side, but that should be done here in just a few weeks. That doesn't mean the second floor is completed. Like Kurt had said, we're still waiting on the card readers to get activated. The terrazzo flooring only has the basic first coating. If you look, it's still got to get polished and sealed a couple more times, but that'll be a overnight project later on when we're done moving stuff. Some of the locks still need to get, or the keys still need to get updated, but we're waiting until the card readers get turned on, because I can't give everyone master keys, which is what all the card reader keys are going to be. So everything is functioning. It's just not completed. Even the main hallway here on 2R next to Susan in my office, it looks done, but there's still part of the ceiling that needs to get completed. There's a VAV there, part of the HVAC system that was leaking, so that's isolated, and that'll get fixed here pretty soon.
Jeremy, when's Treasury gonna move? I noticed that there.
Treasurer's already moved.
You must have done that like Friday or so.
No, Treasurer's been up there for a week or two. They're right next to the county clerk.
They just got there, because I was in the county clerks last week and they weren't. They must have got there last week, huh?
Yeah, though, so maybe there was a day last week that we had an issue where Courtney was gone, and the main area of the treasurer, everything is on motion sensors for the lights. And when Michelle was the only one there, she has a separate office, so the lights kept going off in the main area. So maybe there was people thought that treasurer's office was closed that particular day. So I've already worked with the electricians to try to up the timers on that and/or jump the motion sensor in Michelle's office with the one in the main area, so any motion will keep all the lights on. But they've been up there for a little bit. I think, like I said, the only department that's not up there as of today is HR/administration. And that area is, all the offices are up, all the sheetrock is done. I'm sorry, yes, register of deeds. But again, like I said earlier on that one wasn't a priority at the moment because they're not in anybody's way where they currently are.
I will see this on the second floor. The rooms are nice and bright. I like that. So, I mean, it's good for employees to have a lot of sunlight.
Yep, and that
The
brightness
only one who
does have.
doesn't have it is John.
No, he's just got 2 light fixtures, no windows, so, yeah, when it does come to the brightness, though, as many people are happy that they have windows, it is still pretty bright. The window blinds are scheduled to be here next week. They're actually be installed next week. All the blinds are here on site right now. But that company will be here next week, because like Tim's office, he's got the beautiful cardboard hanging in his window, and Mary's office has, 3 or 4 different color curtains that I bought at various discount places, and they just...
I think it's kind of catchy, don't you?
It works. I mean, it's very eclectic, and each department is something different, but that's, so everyone will be happy when that gets done. We are currently moving Human Services Administration down to where the treasurer used to be, because then I'll be handing that main administration area over to Samuels by the end of this week. And then in 2 weeks, I'll be giving them the opposite side of the hallway, which is where economic support and Jay and a few other people are located. But we're also waiting for dispatch to move, which is scheduled for next week. And once they're done, then we'll move human services into the old dispatch area as well. So there's lots of shifting going on right now. And then, like I said, once we get people to point A, then we're moving them all back to C. So our old jail is full, our basement is full with all just different desk pieces and parts and various things, but we're getting there. I'm working on Samuels. There's a few changes that have to be made that were some architectural issues that we found when we went to go in that admin area. There was one wall that was scheduled to go up in a certain area, but it's also where the heating pipes were in the wall, so the wall had to be shifted a little bit. Where the human services testing toilet is going to be on the first floor, the dimensions of the room were off just a little bit due to the thickness of the wall, so we had to make some adjustments in there for the toilet. I made some adjustments that were approved by me, smaller adjustments into what the mailroom was to make it a little bit easier for Mary's department later when we go to put in a postage meter and a few other things, different cabinets and shelves and stuff in there that will help out. Let me see, dispatch is moving. Yeah. So other than that, there's no other major issues other than the next line item here on the agenda, which is the approval of one of the change orders that had to get done. And that one was one that we pointed out to you guys before when it came to the fire caulking above the ceiling grates where everywhere that there was a penetration in the wall. So when let's say over the past 50 years, every time someone has drilled a hole through the wall and they wanted to put a 1/2-inch pipe and they made a 2-inch hole, that 2-inch hole needed to be sealed up to become compliant with fire code. And there was hundreds of fist-sized holes that needed to get sealed up with fire caulking. So in order to pass inspection and to get approval from the state, these things needed to get done. This is the cost of that one, and that is outside of the approval rating that I was given by this committee, obviously by the price that you can see here. It is something that needed to get done, and then there's a little bit more that's going to have to get done when the first floor starts moving, and there's at least 2 areas that I could see that are still existing in area where admin is going on the second floor when we pulled some of that stuff out. And it was either from when the asbestos abatement when we tear that stuff down, it's stuff that wasn't really seen until some of that stuff, until that ceiling stuff was out of the way. The mechanical stuff primarily was out of the way, and then you could see that. If you have any questions, Kurt can answer everything on that, but I'm just giving this one to you guys because this is outside of what I can approve.
Do we split this with Samuels then? Is that, being that it was,
Should be a
wasn't in the
donut
original,
line item in there, huh?
Yeah,
it wasn't in the original contract, and that is their fault.
So I do have some questions for Kurt on a few other, after this meeting, when it comes to a few other items, when it comes to Venture and IMEG, that I have some questions, that I've been asking Dominic and other Kurt about, but this one here is outside of my control.
So the way that I had the team track this was basically the hours and then the material that's assigned to that, and they've broken it down by what they had to do. The reason that the hours are as large as they are is the spaces to get into them are not easy to get to. I mean, like Jeremy said, a lot of them, when we were going through those corridors, they're up and behind mechanical spaces where you can't get to. So if you were just in an open space, you could just go, but you're crawling into some of these spaces, and it's got to meet that rating. So the intent behind that is that that corridor, the first floor and the second story, that corridor is your rating between that space. And that was really driven by why we didn't have to sprinkle it. Well, that corridor wall needs to have that rating where it is, but those holes were not something that could be seen because of everything that was up in the ceiling. So that's the work that's tied into that. Some of it is drywall patching, some is fire caulking. It's just very labor intensive. We do, and that's where Jeremy said, we do anticipate we're gonna have some on first floor. We don't know what level it is until we open it up, but because of what we saw on second, we anticipate we'll see it on first as well.
And the only upside that I have for this right now is, even with this being spent, out of the total out of the total contingency, I'll have only have spent 18% of this contingency with this approval. So that's not horrible.
pretty good.
It's not horrible compared to everything else, because for every one of these that we get, I'm still sitting down with Samuels and I'm getting ones that are coming back in as credits. So
I can remember, Jeremy, when you took us on that tour, you pointed out a lot of those, and there is a lot of holes that nothing's going through them now, but something had to go through them before, and you were saying that it's cheaper to do this than it is put in a sprinkler system.
yeah, so
It
if, I
gives us
mean,
the fire.
and right now, for those that don't recall or maybe didn't do the walk before, when this meeting's over, just walk the first floor, because the ceilings are opened up there right now, and you'll see everywhere that you can fit your hand, your finger, or your head through, there's quite a few of them.
There is.
And
You're-
so, and again, as we start dropping that mechanical stuff is when you start seeing a little bit more. So I'm not taking anything off of Kurt's shoulders when it comes to that, but even I was unaware of half of this stuff, and I've had my head in that ceiling 100 times, but until you take that 3-foot ductwork out of the way and look behind it,
Don't
you
stick
don't
up for
notice it, so.
You don't have, Jeremy, you don't have to stick up for him. No.
Now, the fire code requirements in the past, these would not have passed at that time, or have the requirements
So if-
changed?
If I would have brought in a building inspector, let's say that I wanted to remodel one of these rooms, and I pulled the ceiling out, and then I needed to get approval from the state on that point, no, they would not have passed.
But I
A
guess
lot of this
what-
stuff was done because, let's say it was Bruce, my predecessor, or Lennis, who was his predecessor, or anyone else, whenever they drilled the hole in the wall, or even when I do it, I'm not necessarily going, okay, I'm putting the hole in the wall and I need to go ahead and stuff some fire caulking back in there. It's not kind of the top of the line thing. So if we have a vendor come in and do it, and I'm not saying that every one of these holes was made by a previous maintenance person, because some of them are HVAC holes that have been cut and everything else. But no, if we had to try to pass inspection without filling this in, or had small projects done that needed to get approval from the state, we wouldn't have passed the way this was, because you have no fire break. Fire breaks out in this room, and I got a giant hole in the ceiling above that one. It's gonna spread with no problems, and no one's gonna pass that. Primarily, our insurance provider wouldn't have liked that either, so.
Yeah, and if you go see them, Dick, they're not all just like pencil thin. There's some good sized holes, and there's some half-inch, then there's some 1.5-inch holes and stuff. I mean, there are quite a variety.
It varies from what they've put through. And like I said, you're going back to that first section, that first floor where the clerks used to be. You're looking from the 1950s when that was built. So between what is that, 80 years that you've got people cutting holes in that wall for different things, so it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but it's what we had the contingency for. Between myself and Samuels as it sits, we've been trying to keep it as low as we can. And 18% is not bad when we compare it to where we sat, let's say, 8 months into the Justice Center and the contingency that we had there and what we'd already spent at that point, so.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions for Jeremy for that, the fire caulking code? If not, I need a motion to approve the, how would you say, the caulking and patching existing holes in the second floor for the cost of $23,625.
Motion to approve.
26.
Plus the material of $22,035.80. Motion by Doc,
Yeah.
I'll second.
second by Renee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. But I think the total there,
The total is
26.
$26,191.11. Okay, all ayes, no nays, motion carried.
Any other questions
Any
for
other
maintenance as
questions
a whole?
for Jeremy? Shouldn't even say, yeah, I wouldn't bring it up. All right, thank you, Jeremy. Okay, I'd like to take this time to close the public comment period. Nobody has called in, so we can move past that. Okay, next on the agenda is confirmed date and time for next meeting, November 10th at 8 o'clock. Is everybody okay with that? It was okay? All right.
Was the annual meeting not as it must be that same week, I think so.
I think you're right here. Let me just look at that. Yeah.
Like the 14th.
No.
Wednesday. That's right. Okay, thank you.
County Board, yeah, that's what I got, the 12th, yep. So we'll do the 10th at 8 o'clock, okay? Yes. All right, and looking at the agenda, anybody have any other questions or discussions? If not, we've accomplished everything on the agenda, and I'd like to adjourn this meeting at 9:03.